Men posture constantly, consciously and unconsciously. When these photographs were taken in the mid-1970s, we were in the midst of the permissive sexual revolution. We were filled with the anger and hopes of political activism and the then current wave of the women's movement. Inspired by feminist writings and the women around me, I looked at society through a different lens, using the street as a stage where I could comment on social values. I began by looking at fashion as an expression of gender stereotyping, exposing how people presented themselves, and then I turned my attention more specifically to the male image. The street allows for social observation. People are there, passing, exhibiting a public face, and male posturing can be seen and read everywhere. Sexism is embedded systemically, and it functions in deep and substantive ways. On the street, one finds its outward face. While photographing, I was aware of a dance between searching out scenarios that illustrated my own political ideas and choosing a more documentary, objective style of simply recording. To me, it became clear that in selecting what moments to expose and print, I projected my beliefs onto these individuals. And yet, decades later, I still find the story they tell thought-provoking. In 1981, I wrote about the images. In my teens, I grew up with a particular notion of what it meant to be a man. The standard boyhood ideals of strength, bravado, and wit were soon added to and superseded by the desire to display a cool finesse with girls. Unfortunately, notions of machismo do not end with high school. We grow up on Tarzan and mature with the need to prove our manliness in every sphere. The North American male is schooled for dominance, expected to be successful in a world where power and control over others is the prime currency. Male posturing is primarily tied to such displays of power and hierarchies of power, whether real or simply simulated. It is ironic that men of all levels of society feel they must display control, no matter how little they actually have over their lives and situations. It is this appearance of power that is paradoxically more important than actual control. There is a well-known glossary that makes up male stereotypes: gestures and facial expressions, body language, clothing, accessories. Women often appear in the photos as accessories to a man's social presentation. They were, and still are, signifiers of success. No matter the status of the individual man, having a woman on his arm bestows higher value. Maybe she has status that she herself brings, or maybe it is simply the sign that he believes he has power over others. The mythologies of male dominance apparent in values, beliefs, and media are also used for control of men or for economic gain. The lure of sex and power becomes a tool that is manipulated by others. Drawn in to imagine they are successfully in control, men can feel and project power. It is an endless game. Although these ideas have been analyzed and discussed for decades, as a society we still seem to take the male identity for granted. We laugh at it when it is ridiculous, and sometimes we call it out when it is most blatantly chauvinistic, or when politically useful to do so. But male sexist attitudes continue. Today, the conversation has turned to the systemic nature of these attitudes, the abusive hostility that sometimes underlies the male persona, and the resistance towards sexual parity and a rebalancing of societies. With the more constant and broader awareness of systemic discrimination based on gender, race, religion, and class, one might expect greater and faster change. Yet, men continue to posture, manifesting power and control over situations, places, and others, particularly women. 44 years after I took these photos, and after waves of feminist education and years of progressive thinking, changes in legislation, revisions in media and advertising messaging, the fact remains: men need to change. White men need to change. Every man needs to wake up and understand that the traditional male self-images trap us and continue to hurt others. We are not the victims, and we need to evolve.